Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 7. Chapter number 9. Prahlad pacifies the Lord with prayers. And text number 22. Satam hi nitya vijitatma gunasvadamnam kalo vasikrita visrijya visharga shakti Chakre Vishristam Ajayeshvara Sodasare Nispidyamanam Upakarsha Vibho Prapannam Satam hi nitya vijitatma gunasvadamnam Kalo vasikrita visrijya visharga shakti Chakre vishrishtam ajayeshvara sodasare Nispidyamanam upakrasha vibho prapannam Sadvam hi nitya vijitatma gunasvadamnam Kalo vasikrita visrijya visharga shakti Chakre vishrishtam ajayeshvara sodasare Nispidyamanam upakarsha vibho prapannam Saha, that one, the supreme independent person, who through his external energy has created the material mind, which is the cause of all suffering in this material world. Tvam, you, he, indeed, nitya, eternally, vijitatma, conquered, gunaha, whose property of the intelligence, svadamna, by your personal spiritual energy, kalaha, the time element, which creates and annihilates, vasi kruta, brought under your control, visrijya, by which all effects, visarga, and causes, shakti, the energy, chakre, in the wheel time, the repetition of birth and death, Vishishram, being thrown, Ajaya, by your external energy, the mode of ignorance, Ishvara, O Supreme Controller, Sodasa Are, with 16 spokes, the 5 material elements, the 10 senses, and the leader of the senses, namely the mind. Nispidyamanam, being crushed under that wheel. Upakarsha, kindly take me to the shelter of your lotus feet. Vibho, O Supreme Great, Prapannam, who am fully surrendered unto you. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear Lord, O Supreme Great, you have created this material world of 16 constituents, but you are transcendental to their material qualities. In other words, these material qualities are under your full control, and you are never conquered by them. Therefore, the time element is your representation. My Lord, O Supreme, no one can conquer you. As for me, however, I am being crushed by the wheel of time. Therefore, I surrender fully unto you. Now kindly take me under the protection of your lotus feet. Purport: the wheel of material miseries is also a creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But He is not under the control of the material energy. Rather, He is the controller of the material energy, whereas we, the living entities, are under its control. When we give up our constitutional position, Jivira Surpahoy Krishnera Nityadas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead creates this material energy and her influence over the conditioned soul. Therefore, He is the Supreme, and only He can deliver the conditioned soul from the onslaught of material nature. Mameviye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. Maya, the external energy, continuously imposes upon the conditioned souls the suffering of the threefold miseries of this material world. Therefore, in the previous verse, Prahlad Maharaj prayed to the Lord, "But for your Lordship, no one can save me." Prahlad Maharaj has also explained that a child's protector, his parents, cannot save the child from the onslaught of birth and death, nor can a medicine and a physician save one from death, nor can a boat or a similar means of protection can save a person drowning in the water. For everything is controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, suffering humanity must surrender to Krishna, as Krishna Himself demands in the last instruction of Bhagavad-Gita, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam saranam raja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami masuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. All of human society must take advantage of this offer and thus be saved by Krishna from the danger of being crushed by the wheel of time, the wheel of past, present and future. The word nishpidyamanam, being crushed, is very significant. Every living entity in the material condition is actually being crushed again and again. And to be saved from this position, one must take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then one will be happy. The word papanam is also very significant, for unless one fully surrenders to the Supreme Lord, one cannot be saved from being crushed. A criminal is put in prison and punished by the government. But the same government, if it likes, can release a criminal from imprisoned life. Similarly, we must know conclusively that our material condition of suffering has been allotted to us by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if we want to be saved from this suffering, we must appeal to the same controller. Thus one can be saved from this material condition. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshuranmilidamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Dinamine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesadharini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here Prahlad Maharaj is praying to Lord Nrsingadev to save him from the material miseries. Here we see Prabhupada explains the condition of the material nature and the supreme controller of the material nature. And he speaks a lot about being crushed by the time. Everyone in this material world, bound by time and bound by the threefold miseries, Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik and Adhyatmik. Miseries of the body and miseries which comes through the material nature and miseries which comes through the other living entities. And especially birth, death, old age and disease, which is the real cause of a misery or suffering, which Prabhupada explains this often and often in his purports to make it clear that the cause, the problem is that people, they take birth and they become diseased and they get old and then die. This happens, this Kala Chakra, everyone is caught up with this Kala Chakra. And while living in this material nature, people, they keep making plans. Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, that how to become successful in this material world. And without knowing or seeing that very soon he's going to be caught up by the time and swallowed up and he's going to die. Just like the story, there was a person who lived in a town and who was trying to make a business, and he thought and planned so much that he will make a glassware business, buy glasses and then sell it. So he decided to buy glassware in the wholesale market for some cheap price, and then he wanted to make some profit, and he sells it for a little higher price. And initially he started doing it, and then he was making good money. And one day he was walking by and he sat under a tree, and he was so tired, and then he was thinking that maybe I should take a little rest. So he sat under the tree and started dreaming his business. And in that business, in his dream, while he was resting, he was dreaming that he was making money, and eventually he got married. He got a nice wife, he got kids, and the life was good. And suddenly one day, and he and his wife got into a fight. And in that fight, he was trying to attack his wife, and he tried to kick his wife. And in the dream, he was kicking, and grossly his body kicked that glassware too. And which was lying under he was as a footrest. He kicked those glasses, and all the glasses broke, and his dream broke. And when he wakes up, and he saw that all the glasses has been broke, and then he thinks, oh, now what I will do? Now all my money is lost, the business which I wanted to make, and I tried to, gather some things, and I wanted to sell it. I broke that, and that has been lost too. Similarly, in this material world, people, they make so many plans that they wanted to make money, they would like to get married, or I will make children, I will get them married, and I will see how they are happy. I will run a business, and I'll help my family. And one fine day, everything is taken away by time. Krishna says in the Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 24th chapter and 66th verse, he says that pramattam uchchai iti kritya chintaya pravruddha lobham vishayeshu lalasam tvam apramataha sahasyabi padyase shul lelihono hrir ivakum antaka. In this verse, it says that, my dear Lord, all living entities in this material world are mad after planning things. People every day we plan. Every second we have a plan for the next day, for the next hour, for the future. And those plans, they're always busy with the desire to do this and to do that. This is due to uncontrollable greed. The living entity is having a greed to enjoy the material nature and to relish it and try to be happy in this material world. The greed for material enjoyment is always existing in the living entity, but your Lordship is always alert. In due course of time, you strike him, just as a snake seizes a mouse and very easily swallow him. This is the condition of the living entities in the material world. We try to make hundreds of plans. When time comes, no plans are success. We see that in the material world, people, they die in a very uncertain way, that it is not known to you that when you are going to die. Just like in the newspapers, we see that in New York, a couple of weeks ago, suddenly in the pathway, a person, he drove a van, and people are walking by in a very relaxed way, casually talking, and they're thinking that they're going to live forever. And suddenly behind him is a big truck comes, and he crashes like hundreds of people. He just drove over them in the pedestrian way, and he just drove over them like a person slaughters the animals in the slaughterhouse. He just drove over them. People, they were not aware. They're just walking nicely and talking to them, and they're making their plans. Behind there's a big truck, and he just a second before his death, he's not aware that no one is aware that the death is there the next second. He just drove over them, he just crushed them and throw the people out. And no plans, nothing works. Your plans, your intelligence, all your endeavor just is of no use. Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita that Mamapetya punarjanma dukhalayam asasvatam napunvanti mahatmanaha samsiddhim param gatim. Krishna says that after attaining me, the great souls actually, who are yogis in devotion, never returns to this temporary world, which is full of miseries. And they have attained the highest perfection. Krishna confirms it actually, this place is full of material miseries. And no one can make it in this material world. A rich man, a poor man, or a strong man, or a weak man, any kind of a man. No one can make it in this material world. This is what Krishna is trying to tell. And also, the Svetasvara Upanishad, it talks about the glory of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is transcendent to do all material consumptions of darkness. Only he who knows him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. There is no way for liberation other than this knowledge of the Supreme Person. There is no truth superior to that person because he is the supermost. He is smaller than the smallest, and he is greater than the greatest. He is situated as a silent tree, and he illumines the transcendental sky. As a tree spread its roots, he spread his extensive energies. Krishna is all over through his energies, this material world. Anything we see, just like yesterday we heard an example that Rukmini Mataji, which she gave, about a person asked Srila Prabhupada that, have you seen God? And Prabhupada replied to that person telling that, every day we see God through his energies like sun, water, earth, air, ether, and everything. Every living entity moving and non-moving, it's nothing but Krishna's energy, which is a driving force behind, which is Krishna energy himself. When people, they say, life comes from matter, and the matter doesn't have a power or a driving force which run on its own, then where everything is coming from? The tree is growing, and tree which gives fruits, and the day and the night, every energy which we see here, here it confirms that all the energy which comes from Krishna. In 2nd canto, 9th chapter, Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport that the body is covered by, overcast, by 5 kinds of miserable conditions, which he talks about: ignorance, attachment, material conception, hatredness, and absorption. As long as one is overwhelmed by these 5 kinds of material miseries, there is no question of entering into Vaikuntha Loka. As long as a person absorbed in his material body, as long as he is having attachment for it or hatredness for that, and having a conception that I am this body, and ignoring anything spiritual, and such people, they cannot enter into the Vaikuntha Loka, and they are always eternally covered. This kind of ignorance, by ignorance, they cover themselves with the material body. But in the spiritual world, where Brahmaji talks about the spiritual world in Brahma Samhita, that the transcendental world, which is explained in the following verse, like Brahmaji described the highest planet of Vaikuntha as Goloka Vrindavan, where the Lord resides as a cowherd boy, keeping transcendental Surabhi cows and surrounded by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. I worship Govinda, primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows. And in this abode, built with these spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. And in the next shloka, it says that in that personal abode of the Lord, the material modes of ignorance and passion do not prevail, nor is there any of their influence in goodness. There is no predominance of the influence of time. So what to speak of the illusory external energy? It can enter the region. Without discrimination, both the demigods and the demons worship the Lord as devotees. The kingdom of God actually, in the atmosphere of Vaikuntha nature, which is called Tripat Vibhuti, it is, which means 3 times bigger than the material universe. And is described here as, in the Bhagavad-Gita in the nutshell, that universe containing billions of stars and planets is one of the billions of such universe clustered together within the compass of Mahatattva. And all these millions and billions of universes combined together constitute only 1/4 and of the magnitude of the whole creation of the Lord. There is a spiritual sky. Beyond the sky are the spiritual planets under the names of Vaikuntha. And all of them constitute 3/4 of the entire creation of the Lord. God's creation are always innumerable. Even the leaves of a tree cannot be counted by a man, nor can the hairs on his hairhead. So Krishna's opulence has been explained in a nutshell in Srimad Bhagavatam, that the millions and billions of universes in the material world cannot compare with one realm of the kingdom of God, which has been made by spiritual gems, rubies, diamonds, and everything. Actually, this is what the people are looking for in this material world, isn't it? If you go out to this material life, people are hankering for something valuable. They want the best of the cars. They want the best of the houses. They want to use the gold, jewelry, gems, and everything. And they want to be looking beautiful. They wanted to be stronger. And they wanted to associate with the best of the people. And we see in the spiritual world, this is all existing. And whatever we were desiring to have it, it is already existing. And Krishna is giving an open invitation for all the living entities to come and join. 18.64, Krishna says that, yat karosi, yadasnasi, yat jugosi, dadasi yat. Do everything for me. And he says that by doing in this way, you offer it to me and you will attain me. People are working so hard to live, to exist. And Krishna is telling that, the life in the spiritual world is very easy. And it is a fun. Every day, Krishna is going with his cowherd boys to play in the playground in Vrindavan, and they're having fun for the whole day. And people are working so hard in this material world, and they don't have any fun, and rather they have depression, worry, and anxiety, and thinking about future and making plans. And Krishna is telling that, no, just join us, have fun, have picnic. When we get time, this is what we do in this material life. When you are tired of this material world, when you're tired of your job, studies, and working so hard, people are finding a scope to find a shelter where you can, retreat yourself and have fun with your family and, relax and, have a good lunch. All these kind of things. And Krishna is telling that this is eternally existing in the spiritual realm. In this material world, you get only the weekends to do those things. But in the spiritual life, this is something which is a privilege for a living entity to just join back Krishna. The only thing which he has to do is that accept Krishna's instruction. Just, Sarvada, Krishna says finally that give up everything, just join us. Sarva dharman parityaja. Give up all kinds of activities. And just try to listen what Krishna is trying to tell us, instruct us. It's like a guidebook where it's a guideline instructions from the Bhagavad-Gita, and he gives the nature of the material world, and the other side he gives the nature of the spiritual world. There is a choice for you, that you always go, whatever you like, you will get it. So only thing is we need to just switch our mind from this material world to the spiritual world, start desiring something spiritual. There is nothing like in the spiritual world is something boring. I remember in the school days we we used to play hockey and the basketball and all these things. But after eventually at some part of our life, it all became boring and it all became, it's like, we are done with that. It's no more interesting. And, when I was thinking to have a bike, then when I had a bike, I stopped thinking about my bike. And, in this material world is like that. You think of something, you plan something to achieve it, you get it, and then it doesn't give any pleasure to you. And then you stop thinking about those things. Just like, people, they keep the new upgraded mobiles which comes out, and, people, they advertise that, that now the iPhone X is coming, get prepared for yourself to buy it. And people, when the iPhone came in the beginning, and people were mad after that, when they got it, they're not really into it. Some people they gave up, and some people are looking for something further, the upgraded version of the gadgets. So it's a symptom. It says that in this material world, even if something gives you pleasure, but doesn't exist longer, it's very, 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 very short duration of life. Very short duration. And plus, I would like to add something else here from the 5th canto, where a conversation between Raghugana and Jadabharat. He says, Jadabharat says to my dear Raghugana that, my dear heroic king, due to my past sincere service to the Lord, I could remember everything of my past life. This I am trying to tell because, if you can make a little bit in Krishna's service, that it will not go in vain. Neha bhikramanasusti pratyavayana vidyate swalpamapyase dharmasya trayado mahatobhyat. In serving Krishna and his mission, there is no loss in it. Anyone makes a little bit, and it will be eternally stays as a credit for that living being. This is what Jadabharat is trying to tell King Raghugana. That Jadabharat is telling that although I fell down to the lower species of life, degraded myself to the lower species of life. That, like from a human being, he's falling down to the animal being, which is really a fall down. A human being is usually, if you can elevate yourself from there, you can elevate yourself to the spiritual world. And he didn't took birth as even a human body, he took birth as a deer. But because he was aware of his fallen from the past life, but he was keeping separate from the association of the ordinary men. He didn't associate still with the ordinary people, and the bad association which alone unnoticed to others. And he was lonely, he was loitering here and there, but he was always try to seek some higher association. And the next shloka, Jarabhara says that by associating with the exalted devotees, anyone can attain perfection of knowledge. With that knowledge, one can cut the pieces of illusory associates within this material world. Through the association of devotees, one can engage in the service of Lord by hearing and chanting. One can revive his dormant Krishna consciousness to the cultivation and cultivate Krishna consciousness and return back home, back to Krishna. And this is how a living entity can take shelter of hearing and chanting and seriously and make an endeavor to go back to Krishna. Just like Krishna, the nature of Krishna is to be kind and be merciful. This is the nature of Krishna, just like the nature of the sugar in this material world is to be sweet, and which is the inherent nature of it that cannot be changed. And similarly, the Lord is the nature of Krishna is to be kind and merciful. That's why again and again when he comes to this material world and incarnates as in different ways and tries instructs, is instructing to the living beings and then wants them to back home, back to Godhead. But the problem is that the living being is making plans. But maybe I will make it in this material life, I can live happy. And apart from that, the illusory energy is so strong that he couldn't take it. The Lord is actually always cares for his devotees more than the devotee does. That's his nature too, it shows his kindness and merciful, just like in the story in the Mahabharata, where after the Mahabharata war, Krishna takes off from the Kurukshetra and he draws his chariot back to Dwarka. On his way back, Krishna actually bids farewell to the Pandavas and he goes to Dwarka. While on his way, he meets an old Brahmana who is on the way to Dwarka. His name was Uttanga. And Krishna stopped and descended from his chariot and saluted to the Brahmana. And Uttanga in return return the greetings and proceed actually to make the usual inquiries as we do about the health, welfare of the relatives. He asked Krishna that whether cousins, the Pandavas and the Kauravas love one another as brothers should, and whether they are well and flourishing. And when the Brahmana asked this question, and Krishna was silent for a while, and then Krishna thought that he had not heard about the great battle which has been fought, and the Lord was astounded by that question, and then he softly disclosed to that Brahmana that what had happened about how a great battle had been fought, and almost all of the Kauravas had been exterminated. On hearing this narration, Uttanga became very angry. He got angry. And then he told Krishna that he had failed in his duties and asked him to prepare to receive a curse. And then Krishna actually smiled at him. And Krishna told him in his smile that, don't use the fruits of the great penances, which has been earned by doing penances, don't try to use that. And then he showed his divine form to that person, and then later that Brahmana, he got realization that after the explanation by his form, he told that Brahmana to ask a boon, and he was satisfied with that. And the Brahmana, Krishna, as usual, he told the Brahmana to ask a boon. And the Brahmana asked him actually that he desired, whenever he desired, he should be able to find some water whenever he might feel thirsty. So Brahmana asked a simple boon, and then Lord blessed him and then went on his way. And then later, when Uttanga was passing through a desert, he actually felt very thirsty. And remembered that the boon of Krishna, which has decided to make us use of that boon. So at that time, that Brahmana actually, he thought of quenching thirst, and the same moment, one Shudra actually came, the Nisha, the lower caste, with a few dogs in his hands, and with the rags wrapped around his body, and he in water bag strapped to his shoulder, and he offered that water to the Brahmana. And the Brahmana Uttanga, who looked at that man in disgust, and then he actually told him that he was not thirsty actually, and he asked him to go. Saying this, he reproached to the Lord. He started criticizing Krishna that, in his mind for that kind of a boon he had given him, and that Chandala, the outcast, the lower class man, actually over and over again trying to quench his thirst, that he was coming near to approach the Brahmana and give him water, but he very angrily he refused to drink. And later, that Brahmana actually was thinking when in his presence of his that the Chandala disappeared, and that the Brahmana started thinking that the disappearance of that, he got some reflection that who was this? He could not be outcast, and he rejected. I rejected the water, and he could not be outcast. And again, Krishna tricked me, something like that. He was thinking, and then while was doing that, was in great anguish. At the same moment, Krishna appeared in front of that Brahmana, before him with a conch and a discus. And he said, "Oh Purushottam," he started glorifying Krishna. Explained to Uttanga that, was it right of you to send an outcast, offer an unclean water to a Brahmana? Was this kind as this Brahmana to Krishna? And then he spoke in better tones to Krishna. And then later, to him, the Krishna smiled. And for your sake, actually, I asked Indra, the demigod Indra, to take Amrita and give it to you as water. And he said he would not, Indra told me that he would not go on no account give nectar to the mortals. I don't go to the planets where the mortals living and giving my nectar of the heavenly planet. And then later he said, but I prevailed him, upon him that I prevailed upon him, and then he agreed to do so only. If I allowed him to test you in the form of a Chandala. And he did. I accepted that challenge, believing you actually had attained the stage of understanding. But you have and made me suffer defeat at Indra's hands. This is a story, it's from Mahabharata. And the moral is that the Brahmana actually asked for the Lord for some water, and Krishna sends him nectar. And the Lord, this shows that Lord always cares for a devotee more than we do ourselves. And he proves that often and often and often by his leelas. Also in the 5th canto, a nice verse which highlights these points also. In 5th canto, it talks about Satyam Dishati Arhitam Arhito Nirnam Naivartado Yat Punarartha Yatiha Swayam Vidatta Bhajatam Anichatam Ichchapidanam Nijapada Pallavam. And in that verse it explains that the Supreme Personality of Godhead fulfills the material desires of a devotee who approaches him with such motives, but he does not bestow benedictions upon the devotee that will cause him to demand more benedictions again. However, the Lord willingly gives the devotees shelter at his own lotus feet. Even though such a person does not aspire for it. And that shelter satisfies all his desires. That is the Supreme Personality's special mercy. We see this in Putana's case also. Putana actually, she smeared poison and to fed Krishna to kill him. But Krishna actually puts her in the position of a mother in the spiritual world. He slashes Shishupal and he gives liberation. He kills Kamsa and gives liberation. So like that, the nature of Krishna cannot be changed, which is kind and merciful. Doesn't matter whatever you do to Krishna, and then in response, Krishna is kind and merciful. So that's the speciality of God, which makes a different from a human being, which a human being cannot be do. Also in the conversation, Srila Prabhupada talks about the expanding of the Krishna conscious movement of the suffering material world, which we talk about, the threefold miseries. And the biggest solution for this is to expand the Sankirtana Yagya all over the universe. And Prabhupada actually Pradyumna, he quotes from Padma Purana. He says that how the Krishna conscious movement can attract the attention of the whole world. And he says how each and every man can feel pleasure in the Krishna consciousness is stated in Padma Purana itself. He says that a person who is engaged in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness is to be understood to be doing the best service to the whole world and to be pleasing everyone in the world. A person who is engaged in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, and which means like a person is always preaching, always absorbed in Krishna. He pleases every living entity in this material world. Just like, in Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna also says that in fifth chapter, that Yoga Yukta Vishuddhatma Vijitatma Jitendriya Sarva Bhuthatma Bhuthatma Kurvanapi Na Libhyate. Krishna says that, Krishna actually gives a tip, personality development tip, that if you want to become a dear person to others, the best thing you do is that you control your senses and mind. Just a person doing that, controlling his own senses and mind, he becomes dear to others. You don't have to have a relationship with anyone, even if you don't have. A person automatically pleases every person in this material world. Whenever a person looks at a person who is self-controlled, who is disciplined, who is having a controlled mind and senses, automatically he is impressed. That's the best preaching. And Krishna says that he becomes actually the friend of everyone. He doesn't have a friendly relationship with the people, but people, they like him. We have experience. Do you have any experience with such people? The moment you see a person of a good character, a person of a self-controlled nature, immediately that the very nature he preaches, and he impresses others, and people wants to have a friendship with him, wants to associate with him. And this is what here in Padma Purana it says that when a person is fully absorbed in Krishna, he becomes dear to all the living entities. Further it says that he's pleasing even to the trees and animals. With such people, every living entity is pleased, like trees, animals, and attracted by such a movement. A practical example of this was shown by the Lord Chaitanya himself. When Lord Chaitanya was traveling in this Jharkhand forest, the tigers, the elephants, the deers, even they started dancing and chanting Hare Krishna. And Prabhupada, he says that we should preach to all living entities, not only to the human beings, we should preach even to the trees, animals, and all living entities in this material world. That's what he says. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was passing through the forest in central India, animals joined with him. Of course, he is Krishna himself, but if one becomes purified, there is no question that all animals, living entities would join in the Sankirtan movement. There is evidence. But one must be very sincere and a powerful preacher. Prabhupada said that if you are a sincere and powerful preacher, you can preach to any living entities in this material world. If we cannot preach in the society of the animals, we can preach at least in the human societies, who are supposed to be uncivilized or very lower status of life. Actually, it is happening that we see that the children take part, even the dogs take part, the so-called uncivilized men, they also take part. This is the University of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. The Prithivitayache Yatanagradhigram Sarvata Prachar Hoyabhav Maranam. This is a Lord's prediction, and it's a fact that we help in Lord Chaitanya's mission to serve him and to execute his mission, and the whole community, the society, and people, everyone can overcome these miseries of in this material existence, Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik, and Adhyatmik. And this is the conclusion of our preaching essence, to preach the holy name and to bring people in Krishna consciousness movement and take them back home, back to Garden, Golok Vrindavan. I think I will stop here. Any comments, questions, we can discuss.
Next. So you said God is inviting everyone to come to Him, but many of them, they are working very hard for their senses and this one everything. So I understand this is the Lord's mercy that we have come to Him. Otherwise, we will be like others, just whatever they are doing. So Lord is having mercy on particular some of the people, and some of the people, they are giving Him whatever He wants. They want a big car, they want a big house. So Lord is giving them whatever they want. And we are also devotees. When we came as a devotee, it is a mercy of God. We cannot come on our own to become a devotee. Can you say something about it?
Yeah. When Lord Chaitanya came, without indiscriminately, he was distributing his mercy. Just like in Chaitanya Bhagavad, it is said that when people appreciated Lord Chaitanya's dancing, they got Krishna Prem. They didn't undergo any sadhana bhakti, any initiation, any association, anything like it. They appreciated the Lord Chaitanya's dancing. They got Krishna Prem. And especially the golden avatar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is the most munificent incarnation and special mercy on the living being. And he opened the door for Golok Vrindavan. And indiscriminately, that's the nature of Lord Chaitanya, indiscriminately he was distributing mercy. This materially, we see that, just like you said, that people are getting opulences. It may be there, but the real mercy is that you get the mercy of bhakti to achieve Krishna. That Lord Chaitanya has given indiscriminately. The only thing is you come and take it. It's open. He's giving to Jagai, Madai, and all kinds of people. You just be a part of the Sankirtan movement and take a privilege. It's a prediction, and no one will stop. Lord has predicted that everywhere people will chant Krishna's name and people will join the movement. It's only thing is we be an instrument and join the Sankirtan. What else?
One more. Just like you were doing the story of Krishna, he met Ramana, and Ramana was in home, and he said if someone in a form of Chandala should give the water. So similarly, when we see somebody coming, approaching us, so we should welcome him. We should think that God has sent him to us for some purpose. So we should try to help each and every, thinking that it's God has sent this person for me. Give him some benefit or teach him or bring him Krishna consciousness. So if you think in that manner, maybe like we can understand that God is having everyone.
Yeah, Madhyamadikari discriminates and he is very conscious of what is he doing. So the devotee has to be conscious what is he doing, and see the situation and help the people, and like that. Just like yesterday, Mataji was making a point that treat the people the way you treat the people, that they understand how much Krishna loves them. So this is very important, that a behavior, a sadachara of a devotee is a preaching itself. He preaches more by his behavior and attitude through the people in general, and rather much less philosophy can be there, but he preaches more with attitude and behavior. Anyone else?
If the spiritual world is unlimited, how do we understand that the material world is one-fourth the size of the spiritual world?
From the Shastra, it says that the spiritual world is unlimited and the material world is limited, which we see by traveling. We have seen the world that it's measurable. The material world is measurable, and it's limited with certain facilities, and also it's not worth living. And the spiritual world, it is through the Shastra we hear. Brahma actually got a realization after doing a long time penance that Vishnu, Lord Krishna himself, he by his mercy he could see the spiritual world. And he actually looking the spiritual world with his own eyes, and he is describing it in Brahma Samhita, that he looks at the walls there, the steps there, and the floor there, and the people who lives there, and finally looks Krishna with the cows, and he could grasp everything what are the activities going on in the spiritual world by the mercy of Krishna. So he is explained here. So through Shastra we accept that fact, it is as fact, and take it granted. Is it okay? It's not working.
I have a question.
Yeah, bro.
You describe the heavy condition material life, people completely ignorant, working hard, and being very unhappy. And you describe on the other hand the wonderful, beautiful, happy, blissful pastimes with Krishna. And we are in between. We gave up the terrible, horrible material condition. We don't want, we are afraid, we may go back, we're very afraid. And we hanker, when I will maybe go to Krishna and become an associate of Krishna. We are in between, we don't know exactly where we are at actually. And there is a stumbling blocks, there is Maya, giving trouble, we have to be very, very careful not to commit offense, change the ordinary. It's a difficult situation. So what is your good advice? You have a good advice?
Yeah, it's walking on the razor's edge. And people, we do see that sometimes devotees, they go back to the material life, they become karmis, they become non-devotees again. But here we see from the example of Jarabharat and Raghugana, he is instructing that by associating with the exalted devotees, anyone can attain perfection of knowledge. That you keep yourself in the devotees who are serious, sincere, and who has the same desire to go back to Krishna. And live with Krishna. To such devotees, Prabhupada says that his dormant Krishna consciousness is awakened and he returns home back to Krishna. So basically one has to sincerely endeavor to at least be in the association of the good devotees. Just being with that association, Krishna becomes pleased and you'll get some mercy. And apart from that, you have to do a little physical service of doing and serving the devotees. And you have to put some energy in chanting japa and being attentive and not committing offenses. From your side, you have to do your part. You cannot just be in depression that material life is boring and it's troublesome and spiritual life is difficult. You know, I cannot get up for Mangala Arati. You cannot say that. From your side, you have to you have to do some full effort, that you have to come for the morning program and you have to show some enthusiasm and steadily do some devotional service and associate with the devotees and hear from the devotees and chant the holy name. All these things, all these the limbs of bhakti, it will help. And this is the process actually, and this is a powerful process, these 5 processes, like taking darshan of the deities, chanting the holy name, association, living in the dham. By this, eventually, you will get rectified and your dormant Krishna consciousness will be awakened. On one fine day, you will find that it's very attractive and it's blissful. Already we are seeing that, you know, in my school days, I never wake up at 4 o'clock. You know, my brother and sisters, they do. And they do hard work to study. But it's tough for me to wake up at 4. But when I joined the temple, you know, I have to wake up at 4. Then I woke up for a few days, then I missed for a few days and I felt, you know, guilty that it's not good. I don't feel like, you know, sleeping after 4, though I do sometimes. But, you know, you feel guilty that, you know, something is missing. When you come here and you hit at 4, then, you know, you feel something is satisfying. Eventually there is bhakti rasa is there, you know, people relishing the taste, otherwise why they have to sit and chant 16 rounds. You know, for years the devotees are doing, why they are engaged in devotional life, and they are fixed with that, and they are happy with that. So there is, Krishna is giving some taste to the devotees, and he is actually protecting them through the process. That's the shelter you have to take. Krishna is protecting you through the process. In his holy name, he is existing. Just like one nice devotee, he told me, this Hare Krishna mantra is a living mantra. It's living actually. It's not some kind of a matter, letters, alphabets. It is Hare Krishna, this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is a living. This has a life in it. And this is Krishna. So by hearing and again and again and again, the fire blazes. And then you will get a blazing fire. Then, you know, that eventually takes you to the Krishna world. From your side, you have to be sincerely endeavor to become a devotee's servant. And that gives all perfection. This is what Raghuna's Jarbar's message to Raghunan. That keep yourself with the good association, and that will actually take you to Krishna. So you don't have to be really worried about it. And not offend anyone, not criticize anyone, and be a good friend. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.